Life in Canada can be challenging, whether you're new to the country or have been here for years. But once you unlock some of the right services, build connections, and access the right support, you can truly thrive. Canada is a beautiful country with so much to offer, and no one should have to navigate its challenges alone. Welcome to Thrive Canada, where we explore real-life experiences, practical solutions, and expert insights to help you build a fulfilling life here. Today, we're diving into a topic that powers both dreams and daily survival: small businesses. Starting or growing a business is one of the most empowering ways to build stability and wealth in Canada, but it's not always easy. Many entrepreneurs struggle to access funding, navigate inflation, and adapt to economic shifts at home and abroad. To help us make sense of this complex landscape and to give us real actionable tools, we're joined by two special guests from the Philippine-Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Julian Baricuatro is the Vice President for Membership and Innovation at PCCC. He is a marketing strategist and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience. He has also helped shape global brands and mentor startups through practical, results-driven strategies. Also with us is Joey Bermudez, a PCCC board member and the chairman and CEO of Maybridge Finance and Leasing Incorporated, with deep experience in banking and finance across the Philippines and Canada. Joey brings invaluable insight into how Filipino entrepreneurs can position themselves for long-term growth. So let's get into it. Welcome to both of you.
Oh, good afternoon.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to give it to you to introduce yourselves to the public, what your role is with the Philippine Chamber of Commerce.
So I'm Julian Baricuatro. I'm a green entrepreneur. My role is the Vice President of Innovation and Membership of the Philippine-Canadian Chambers of Commerce. So my role is to develop innovative program to better serve Filipino-Canadian communities across Canada.
My name is Joey Bermudez. I'm, as they say, an old banker. As they say, old bankers never die. So they just get recycled. So I came to Canada in 2009 and became an entrepreneur after retiring from banking.
So what is the PCCC's mission and how do you support the Filipino-Canadian entrepreneurs?
So PCCC is dedicated in supporting and empowering Filipino-Canadian business communities across Canada by advocating and empowering different business communities in different provinces of Canada. And one way to create a thriving business community is to develop or create a sustainable business community in each provinces of Canada.
So umiikot sa mga iba-ibang probinsya.
That's right. So what we're trying to create is to duplicate what we have here at PCCC. By partnering with the existing business councils or business associations na meron na, existing na doon. And then we duplicate whatever framework na pwede naming ibigay sa kanila. So we shared our resources just for them to thrive and explore different opportunities, especially within their provinces.
What are some of the key programs or events that help the business community thrive?
One of the key events we have is the trade missions, yung mga Filipino-Canadian natin dito that would like to explore different opportunities and or business opportunities dun sa Pilipinas. Okay? So we bring them there and then connect with different startups and financial companies who can invest from both sides, Filipino-Canadian and dun sa Filipinos, startup dun sa Pilipinas. So that's one of them. Second is we also partner with big IT event here in Canada. One of them is the Collision Toronto. They considered it's the Olympic of Tech and Innovations. We featured 5 companies there last year. My company is included in that event. So they look for different alpha startup that can excel and create sustainable business developments in different parts of Canada and also can be duplicated outside of Canada.
Before we sat down here for the interview, you mentioned to me that Filipino representation is important.
Correct.
So why do you think it's important for Filipino-owned businesses in Canada to have representation? And what's at stake when we're not part of the bigger conversation?
They struggle to represent, whatever their business needs and hindi sila nabibigyan ng priority. So, ang ginagawa namin, PCC become the conduit or the unified voice for Filipino-Canadian that will help their interests and protect their interests. It's really hard to navigate this time around those business practices and because of rapid economic changes, okay, in economy. It's really hard for them to navigate those things. Mas maganda, we come together as one voice and then we partner with the Canadian Chambers of Commerce. So this is the mother chamber of Canada. And meron silang mga priorities committees doon. So in that way, we can easily represent the Filipino-Canadian businesses with different types of committee.
So that's one of the goals.
That's one of the goals.
Can you paint us a picture, like roughly how many Filipino entrepreneurs or business owners are there across Canada, and what does the landscape look like?
Unfortunately, walang clear data for that one, But from my experience for the last 15 years, when I go around across Canada, I would say 40% nasa hospitality, caregivers, and then these are self-employed caregivers and cleaners. And then you have like nasa restaurant, and then you have real estate, 1% siguro sa real estate, and then 2% sa mga financial services. And then maliit lang yung porsyento for startup entrepreneur like IT, agri-tech, clean tech.
So pretty much the industries you've mentioned, no, like for example, hospitality
Right.
or real estate or financial industry. When
Correct.
Filipinos are in these industries, they can also be entrepreneurs and be in these industries, like caregivers who are not under employment. No, can they think of themselves as entrepreneurs as well?
Yes, it so happened that highly regulated that industry. So sometimes it's really hard for them to cross over to another industry. But I would say, there's also entrepreneurial skills there because hindi naman sila nag-stay into one family. Let's say, for example, in-employ sila ng company. Hindi eh. Palipat-lipat din sila. Same thing with healthcare, yung mga
Right.
PSW, di ba? So they work from one place to another.
So in a way, you should know how to market yourself or find.
Precisely. Yeah. In the sense
opportunities.
that you need to overcome the same challenges that entrepreneurs. You are yourself an entrepreneur. You need to deal with, like you say, market yourself. You have to project the right theme and project your product, your service in the most positive way.
And then now with the strong presence in social media, you can do that yourself,
That's right.
right? Like it levels the playing field
Correct.
somehow.
That's
Yes.
true.
Of course, you have to know a certain skill level on posting on these different platforms, but people can learn that along the way. Let's zoom out a little bit. What do you think are the top challenges that are facing small businesses in Canada right now?
I'd say they're no different from all the other small businesses in Canada. When you're small, you always need to try to hustle yourself into the system. As you know, in life, as in business, the big guys always, they dominate.
Dictate, correct.
In many ways, they pick the winners and the losers. And for you to prove yourself a winner takes a lot of hard work. So you need to work a lot harder than they do. But you also have certain advantages being small because you're nimble, you're flexible. Those who say small never gets a chance against big, they only have to look at how the behemoths and the monoliths of the past went away. Whereas a lot of the small guys are still there.
That's a good nugget of thought because sometimes when things happen, like for example now with the threat of the tariffs coming from the US, for example, or what happened during COVID, it killed a lot of small businesses. Like because they have, or at least let me know if this is the right frame of mind when some people think that when you have the smaller capital, you're the first one to go when crises like this happen.
That's true. Empirically and scientifically, I think the data shows the smaller you are, the more vulnerable you are to a shock like, say, COVID, or even the shock that's coming, which is possibly recessionary. The big guys always have this war chest, which enables them to maybe live through a shock or live through a major crisis. The small guys, unfortunately, have less of that, or a very small war chest, if at all.
What can you say about that? Like how can they arm themselves for those who have small businesses? And maybe since we're not yet feeling the full-blown impact of the tariffs, for example, inflation is there. Is it a better inflation number now, or is it's getting a little bit better, just a little bit, right?
In Canada, we've done a better job of containing inflation than the US has. The US still a tricky situation. So they were seeing inflation come down, and now they're seeing it tick up again. So that's why interest rates have not come down as fast in the US as it has in Canada.
What can you advise the small businesses looking into this tariff issue?
I'd say to use their flexibility, their nimbleness to navigate through the forthcoming difficulties. In fact, we're right in the middle of them now. So the big guys have a lot less ability to take the blows today and survive. The small guys can. They have less exposure, they have less at stake. Because they're small, they can afford to focus.
Are there specific sectors or industries that are feeling this more acutely now, you think, in your observation or knowledge?
Yeah, I think aside from the car and manufacturing sector, right? Yung mga import and export businesses, especially ito yung mga import and export businesses, ito yung maliliit lang yung mga profit margin. So it's hard for them, to balance everything and to play around with whatever liit nung profit nila for that one. I mean, I would advise them to empower themselves with a good market analysis, and a good mentor to help them navigate this kind of uncertainties. Kasi as an entrepreneur, napakahirap mag-decide right away, especially with this type of different economic threats coming from the US. If you're navigating it alone and walang nag-guide sa'yo, kasi merong mga opportunities pa that you can look around to diversify your business baka hindi nila nakikita yon. So that's one way for the PCCC to show them, na meron pang mga opportunities for them to explore. Makakatipid pa in different ways. So let's say, for example, PCCC, we have the Save on Gas program, we have Save on Logistic program, those kinds of, kahit yung mga ganong program lang na this time, napaka-essential for them to survive and thrive. We can help them, with those connections and informations.
So it's like having a big brother who can take a look at your business situation and then suggest certain things. And maybe they know, like you guys would know certain programs that you run yourselves or maybe other institutions run that you can point them towards those kinds of programs.
That's true. Let's say, for example, it depends on the stages of your businesses. Kasi meron naman talagang dito sa Canada, maraming programs si Government of Canada for small businesses. Meron din tayong mga microfinancing institutions. Let's say, for example, yung Access Capital, Access Community Capital, something like that. Ganun yung pangalan ng NGO na yon. So, they can help you to build your businesses up to 5 to 10,000 Canadian dollars for you to reboot or restart just to keep you afloat in this type of situations. Depende dun sa stages ng businesses mo at nung financial scenario of what you are right now.
For those who are watching us right now who maybe have businesses themselves or know people who have businesses, who can come to the PCCC? Are there any sort of eligibility or certain factors about their business before they can come to you and maybe ask for your assistance?
Actually, lahat naman tinatanggap namin. We're in service of supporting different entrepreneurs or different phases of entrepreneurs, whether you're startup or you're small or babae ka or estudyante ka, we help them access these informations and help them navigate type of threat, especially yung financial threat and economic threat. We help them navigate those things.
Because it might feel intimidating to them. It sounds like, the name itself, for example, might intimidate some people. Like, why would, I'm just a single proprietor, or I'm just, maybe even just thinking of going into business. Maybe I'm in a job that I don't like. I have a little bit of savings. I have a business idea that I want to kind of maybe can sound off to someone. If it sounds like a good idea, is that something also that you can help them with?
Yeah. So we have a mentorship program. And so that's one thing. Second is we have the Batares Incubator Program. So ito naman yung, let's say, meron kang magandang idea na gusto mong i-share at gusto mong i-validate kung tama yung idea mo. And pangatlo, you would like to someone to invest in your ideas. So we can help them, just for them to start their businesses.
So it's a good topic to talk about, like investing in their ideas or funding sources.
That's
What
right.
are some of the things that maybe a lot of people don't know about regarding funding sources that they can possibly tap?
They first have to overcome a major misconception about entrepreneurship. A lot of people think you cannot be an entrepreneur because you don't have access to funding, which is incorrect. First, you must have a good idea and a good project and an actionable plan. Then the money will come. You cannot approach a banker and say, please give me a loan because I have this project. And you fail the first 5 questions that he would ask. So have a solid and coherent idea and plan, just like Julius done in many of his projects. And it becomes then a lot easier to pitch for funding. Second, I think it's very important that you be prepared to embrace technology. A lot of people say, hindi ako techie. I'm still the old-fashioned manual type of person. No, that you cannot live that way and hope to be a successful entrepreneur. Embrace technology because that's the only way the small guys beat the big guys. Technology, that's the equalizer.
That's very interesting. Like yun na nga, no, pinag-uusapan natin na there's a lot of things in technology that could be the equalizer. That might even be the Achilles heel of the big guys.
Right.
But they, of course, they're also pouncing into that. They're probably putting up a whole department just to take care of that.
The big problem, the behemoths, is that they have a lot of legacy investments. And they cannot get rid of these legacy investments. That's why they're not nimble in adopting technology as the small guys. Just look at the big banks. Just look at how soundly they get beaten by the fintechs. There's the small fintechs, the startup fintechs, the guys that Julian in the chamber try to help. They're a lot better at doing these things than the big guys are, because the guys like JP Morgan, Bank of America, they've invested a lot, for example, in ATMs. The truth of the matter is no one uses ATMs anymore, but they cannot write off this huge investment in ATMs. They have to keep on adding more money, throwing more good money after bad to make this work. But if you're a small guy, you don't have this problem. You made a small investment here, write it off, go to another one.
Tell us about some of your stories, Julian. Like, how did your own personal story as an entrepreneur, how were you able to tap some funding that maybe some of our viewers can learn from?
I'm an IT. I used to work in financial company too. My wife got sick, and then that's the time I got alarmed to understand, what really happening to my wife. She have a cancer at the time. The first thing I did is to understand how to treat my wife. After I treat my wife naturally, we set up an event. So we call it the Canada's Coconut Festival. After we set up Canada's Coconut Festival, someone from Africa saw the event. What they did is they franchised that event, okay? Bring it to West Africa. Our president, Mr. Steve Pagaw, helped me, and mentor me how to deal and expand my business outside of Canada. That's one thing that PCCC helped me.
Based on that event?
Based on that event.
Alone?
Alone.
I didn't know you could franchise an event.
That's right. Even me, So ang ginawa ko doon is like a small community event. Pero ang tingin nila doon, pwedeng i-apply sa economy doon.
Right.
So ang ginawa ko, I create a good value proposition how a country can benefit from coconut. After 5 years, okay, so Ghana yun the country is Ghana. So after 5 years working with the government, okay, Ghana is the 12th largest coconut producing country in the world. Yung small community event, pwede mo palang i-tweak to amplify, and that will benefit more, especially farmers, dun sa Ghana. So dun nag-start ang aking agritech. I created different apps for that one. And then dun sa apps na yon, dun ako nakahanap ng mga funding, okay? Katulad nung yung Toronto Board of Trade. Nagbibigay sila ng training for that one And in order for you to create a good market analysis on how to promote your businesses, from that training, you can access another sets of funding.
Parang it just kind of progressed on its own, but it's very interesting how it started, because it started with your wife having an illness.
That's right.
And you wanted, that was a very personal journey that you turned into something entrepreneurial. Obviously, your passion was there because you had a very personal stake
That's
in
correct.
that kind of a project, which gives us a very important nugget of information. Because sometimes when people are thinking of businesses to start, and people think of what's going to be the most profitable, for example, we can also look the other way. What is something you feel so strongly about? I'm sure you weren't thinking of profit right away when you did that, or were you?
At that time, ang gusto ko lang is magkaroon ng awareness, how to treat cancer naturally. So yun lang talaga. Hindi ko rin naintindihan, nung the first time that they come to me, kung paano ko i-apply this event to their economy. Kasi napakalaki nung project na yun eh. Just to create a 5-year program for them to invest, maging profitable to the whole country of Ghana.
And did it stop there, or is it something that's still ongoing?
Hanggang
You
ngayon,
have your
continue.
agri-tech business now.
Yes, and then lahat ng mga bago naming, right now nasa biotech kami. So lahat ng mga biotech products namin, doon na namin tinetest sa West Africa.
Are you tapping the coconuts from the Philippines?
No. Kung ano yung product nila doon, na let's say kung ano yung coconut doon, kasi like I said, maraming ways just to promote it. Ang problema lang, hindi kaagad nila naintindihan dahil I think you need to create a well-curated feasibility program or studies for them to understand and try, in order for them to try and invest, on your ideas. Yeah.
Anong negosyo mo, Joey?
I am in microfinance and I am in e-commerce as well. And just like Julian's story, these businesses started because of a problem. I started microfinance in 2008, the middle of the global financial crisis, when funding just dried up for the small businesses and especially for the micro entrepreneurs.
This was in the Philippines.
In the Philippines. At about that time, I had retired from banking because I wanted to bring my family to Canada. That's when I put up my microfinance company. I thought I could do a better job than many institutions, especially large institutions who were lending to micro entrepreneurs. And then when COVID came in 2020, a lot of our clients were dying. They couldn't do business the regular way because most of them were brick and mortar stores. So they said, sir, our business has just stopped. And there are 9 million of us in the Philippines who are in the same plight. If you asked them at that time what they needed, they would have said money. But my colleagues and I felt, no, that's not what they need. To resume their business, which is brick and mortar, they need to be in the digital world. So we created an online platform for them. We called it escaparate.com. Escaparate is a Filipino word which means showcase. It's showcase because we put all of them in just one platform. We started with 33 entrepreneurs and we continued onboarding. We got support from a lot of foreign and domestic institutions. Now we have about 5,000 of them in the platform, mostly entrepreneurial mothers. And today we're putting up Escaparate in Canada. We're calling it Awesome Canada, which has the same intent, to bring in the small entrepreneurs, especially home-based businesses, online.
I'm wondering though, why would you still need to put up a Canada version when it's digital? Isn't digital global already?
Yes. Actually, people in Canada can also buy from our micro-entrepreneurs in the Philippines, except that the friction costs for the payment processing can be quite high.
Correct.
So we had to put up Escaparate Canada so we can integrate with the local payment gateway here so that the friction cost is less. You'll never believe this. Canadian citizen buying something from the Philippines online, paying with a credit card, pays another 4.5% to 5% more over the cost of the goods because the payment gateway charges that much. Because the payment gateway is in the Philippines and they have to work with payment processors in Canada and with the banks in the Philippines who have issued the credit card and with the bank in the US that issued your credit card.
Technically, they can.
Yes.
And it can be delivered to them. It's just that there's that markup. But then we also encounter that when we buy from other countries. But some of those are like custom tax duties and all that, no?
Yes.
So that's one thing to look forward to from Filipino entrepreneurs here in Canada.
Yeah.
Can look forward to Escaparate Canada, or
Yes.
how you're going to call it. Are you about to
Yes.
launch it soon?
Yes, we're ready. We have tested the platform. We've integrated with a payment gateway in Canada called OTT Pay. So we're ready to launch. We've started onboarding vendors, in fact, started accrediting them. And we look forward to making OZAM, which is the Canadian version of Escaparate, to be a hub for service providers. People who work independently. Let's say, want me to bring your kid to the airport, or to pick you up from the airport, or to clean your house, or to do your plumbing. Because that's not something that we're able to do in the Philippines. Because these tradesmen have their own contacts, so they don't find the need to go online. But here, where people are more tech savvy, that seems to be a big opportunity.
There are some Facebook groups that do that.
There are.
But then, it's good when they're accredited because somehow the safety, right, the legitimacy of these businesses,
Correct.
if they're under a platform like that, then they're more credible.
Aside from that, social media is a good front end. But when a transaction has to happen online, you have to have a strong back end.
Right.
That is secure, as you
The
said.
banking also.
Yes, that's integrity. Because what happens when you try to sell on Facebook is when somebody says, I like your product, you exchange a conversation thread, which is very long. And when you finally agree, then the final question is, now, how do you
Transact.
get the goods?
Yeah.
And how do you pay me? Okay, that is the trickier part. That is what online commerce solves.
And you're going to be marketing to, your target would be Filipino entrepreneurs or any
Mostly
small
Filipino
businesses?
entrepreneurs, but we're not close to non-Filipinos, other ethnic groups who want to sell on the online platform.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone? Like, should we consider it? Because I know a lot of people can relate to this, that they're doing their jobs, maybe 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Of course, they're after more financial independence. Should they look at the entrepreneurship route? Is it for everyone?
I think it is for everyone. Entrepreneurship is about taking risks and managing them. Living is entrepreneurship. We live through life. You choose a career, you take a risk. You choose your school, you take a risk. You choose your spouse, you take a risk. You decide whether to have children or not, you take a risk. So you pick a career, you take a risk. That's entrepreneurship all over. For those who say, I'm not a natural entrepreneur, they're being intellectually lazy. They don't want to think through it. But what they've actually done, living their lives and making those important decisions, is nothing short of entrepreneurship.
That's interesting. So how do they now translate it? So, okay, if I listen to you and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a risk taker. I've been doing that. I've been championing the challenges and obstacles in my life. What do I do to become an entrepreneur? What's my next step?
Well, recall the informal process that you went through whenever you made a major decision in life. Like you were choosing your spouse. Or if you're a woman, you were entertaining a proposal from a potential spouse. What do? You do your due diligence, right? You do your research and you adopt all methods of research to make sure you don't make a mistake and you get the right facts. And then you act on it. You strategize. How do you make sure that you get into a marriage the right way? So, and then you follow through. You decide whether you want an exit or not if there are difficulties. So,
Or you stick
isn't that
through it.
entrepreneurship all over?
Good nugget of thought. Let's go back to financing. What are some of the financing tools that small businesses can tap into?
Okay, so the traditional way is the bank, through bank, right? Like I said, there's a different government program, how to tap or access funding. And merong mga microfinance. And meron din mga medium and large access of funds. Like I said, depende dun sa stages ng businesses mo. How would you use the funds and paano mo ibabalik yung funding na yon? Kailangan ma-satisfy mo yung criteria Kami sa Philippine-Canadian Chambers of Commerce, we develop different types of knowledge base and training, how to navigate this or tap this funding. So, ganun ang ginagawa namin. And once you become aware na meron palang mga ganitong funding, and saka namin sila ini-endorse.
Okay. Can newcomers or permanent residents with limited credit history, for example, still access capital? What should they do?
Yes. Merong mga maliliit na microfinance na they can lend you up to 5,000 just for you to start. And while building your credibility, right, your financial background or financial record for you to access a bigger funding. So you can start for that one. So you can start for 6 months to 1 year. Once you build your financial background, that's the time you can access a bigger funding. So ganun lang, parang binibuild mo yung credibility mo. That you're a good borrower.
That's why it's even more important for a chamber to exist, because you need a network to sign on to. If you're a newcomer, if you're a small entrepreneur, you must have heard about how other ethnic groups in countries like Canada, they come together whenever there's a newcomer and they help him get started.
Right.
So they pour all the resources, whatever it is, connections, network, money, and knowledge, so that this newcomer can thrive, can prosper. I think Filipinos can do that. In fact, as well as they can, maybe even better than they can. But you need to get organized. You need a chamber to do that, to help you do that.
Oo nga, paano ba nila ginagawa yon? How do they do that? We see them and we know the races that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
They establish themselves when somebody's new. The big brothers are there to help them thrive. How do they do that?
Well, they have a network. They're connected. The chamber connects Filipinos. Because they're connected, the whole community hears about someone who's coming next week and needs a place to stay, has found a job but needs some references. So they all come together and make it happen for him.
That would be awesome if we can do that. A lot of us are wondering how come we still haven't gone to that level where there's so much of us. There's almost 1 million or maybe 1 million Filipinos already in Canada.
And I think, unfortunately, mabagal ang Filipino-Canadian to embrace technologies. I think yun yung naging hindrance, for us to move forward progressively.
And importante na yan ngayon, ano? Like what you said, no? Why? Underscore that. Why? I know it's obvious, but why do we need to embrace technology? And why is it affecting the process of us helping each other?
I think maraming misconception on embracing technologies. And some of the Filipinos, they still adopt yung traditional way of doing business sa Pilipinas. Since this time, very rapid ang development ng technologies So if you cannot join or learn or embrace it, mapag-iiwanan ka talaga I think yun, doon naging mahina yung Filipino community.
Maybe there's not enough fear struck in their hearts by the risks of not embracing technology. But look at what COVID did. Even the grandmas who weren't into Viber and WhatsApp before are now into it because there was enough fear to drive them towards it. Now, those who do not wait for the fear to come and just look instead at the opportunity to embrace technology, they'll be ahead, far ahead. There's always this psychological hang-up about letting go of what it is today. If you're a large oil company, letting go of your investments in the big gas stations, in the big oil drills, it's psychologically difficult to do. But the small guys, they don't have those things. They can move faster if they want to, but embrace technology. You cannot just say, I'll work hard twice, 3 times, 4 times as hard as this other guy. No, technology will beat you to it.
Yeah, sometimes it's not about working hard anymore or the traditional thought of what encompasses or what's under working hard. Now you can work smart, do more, but you gotta learn because there's definitely, of course, there has to be there's a learning curve to all of these things.
That's true.
What do you think are the basic when we say we have to embrace technology, we have to learn technology? What are we talking about in the whole realm of technology? Excel, for example, that's something we should all know about. What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
meron namang actually yung mga public school, yung mga community school, meron silang mga program, just for you to learn the basics of different, let's say for example, Word, Excel, social media. You can start from there. And free yun.
In the libraries.
Yes, in the
sometimes they
libraries. And then they can start from there. And then once they have their own idea na baka ito pwede. That's the time they can go to different business incubator, that will polish and develop their ideas.
So wag lang TikTok ng mga dancing people in the...
That's right. Yeah.
Because sometimes you spend so much time on it. You
Yeah.
don't know you already spent 2 hours, 3
That's
hours.
right.
That could have been a course, a whole course.
It starts always with this mental block. Like when I was in school, I was so scared of math. I tried to avoid my math subjects, but I couldn't because I was in accounting. I was in the College of Commerce. I just went through it, but without my mind in it. But after school, I went to an investment house in the Philippines. It was the biggest investment house at that time. I was right there sitting in the middle of math wizards who were talking formulas all the time, who were talking models all the time. So I was forced. So I studied math all over again, all by myself. Because I felt if I didn't, I'd be out of that company in 6 months. So I did. So you have to have that drive to get ahead of the fear, and not wait for the fear to come first and stop you altogether.
Anything else, Julian? What other things do you think? You have an event coming up?
Yes.
You want to tell us all about it?
Yeah. So we invite them to attend. One of the event is unlocking funding. If you have a small business who would like to access and navigate, how to apply grant, ano yung mga advice just to get faster access on grant. Yeah, meron tayong mga speaker for that one. Just for them to understand. Kasi especially this time, napakahirap na kumuha ng funding eh. And first come first serve, pag naubos yung funding, mag-apply ulit sa the following year.
There's a lot of programs lined up by the chamber for its members. But more important than that is the building of a Filipino entrepreneurial community. Very important, so that members of the community will feel confident that if they need anything, there's a community that they can dig into. They always say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a whole village and community to raise an entrepreneur.
How long has PCC been in existence?
Na-establish yung PCCC way back 2017. Pero nag-materialize lang siya talaga last year. So like 15 months pa lang siya. So we started working on the framework, and then created different programs out of it just to start, the chamber and build a bigger community. Yeah.
So it's a fairly new organization.
That's right.
Which makes us really optimistic about the visions of PCCC to be the cornerstone, the one that's going to be hopefully gathering the entrepreneurs together, inspiring Filipino entrepreneurs to push through with their ideas, and you have a community to help you. Because that's one of the things that's the most daunting when you start something. I have an idea. Who's going to help me with this? I'm taking care of a family, for example, a mother. I have an idea, but I have to take care of my kids. I have 2 jobs. I have jobs on weekends and jobs on weekdays. How will I do this? And then it dies.
And the nice thing about the profile of the Philippine-Canadian Chamber of Commerce is that it's not intimidating. It's ordinary folks who are there. It's guys like Julian and myself and a few other guys who are of the same profile, like-minded. Before I came to Canada, the year before I came here, I was the president of the Management Association of the Philippines. Just about 1,000 members, CEOs, business owners. And I was a member of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines there as well as the Makati Business Club and the Institute of Corporate Directors. But these organizations, you have the big and the small guys there. And when you have a situation like that, guess whose voice is going to be louder?
The big guys, of course. So here, it's different in the
It's different.
PCCC.
That's right.
That is good to know because I also had kind of that impression because if you're familiar with the Philippine setup, the organizations that you mentioned, the Mahati Business Club, they're kind of an intimidating bunch for someone who's just a
Oh, yeah.
startup, just starting. We feel like, these are for the big boys, these are for the experienced ones, or these are the ones who have money. Maybe once in a while they'll have programs outside of that for us, for the smaller ones. But not as a member. I'm not going to be like an active part of this organization. So that's good to know that PCCC should not be intimidating to small entrepreneurs. How do they become a member, and who are you encouraging to become members?
Yeah, feel free to visit us, call us, or visit our website, and we'll be happy to explain how to become a member of PCCC. Or they can even attend some of the events lining up this year. So in that way, maintindihan kaagad nila kung ano yung PCCC, what's our advocacy, what's our mission, and how we can help them, in their business.
So even before they think of that, like calling you or looking at your lineup of activities, they first and foremost have to be entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs.
Want to be? Yeah. Even students, like I said,
Even
pwede sila,
students.
pwede sila. We encourage them, kahit students or meron kang magandang idea, and then you would like to join PCCC, pwede po yun.
Is there a membership fee, a joining fee, or...
Oh, yes. Depende doon sa, merong different category. But students alone, $50 lang, for membership. And then if you're a small owner, $150. If you're corporate, depende sa number of employee mo. Okay? So, mag-start ng $500 yon.
And what do they get as members?
Marami kaming program aside from pinopromote namin sila sa buong community. Meron kaming Save on Gas program, incubator program, meron kaming mga social media, and ipopromote namin sila in different events across Canada.
So you become part of a network, and then whatever it is that you have is echoed or promoted across.
That's right. And also
different
list of mga
organizations.
mentors like Tito Joey. Marami po kami sa PCCC.
Pwede ka maka-access ng mentorship program.
That's right. Gusto naming ayayahan lahat, na abangan yung mga susunod naming lines of event. Join us, learn from these events, learn from us, learn from our mentors, and ano yung mga opportunities na pwedeng i-offer ng PCCC for you to grow.
Walang mawawala dun sa mga Filipino entrepreneurs or even students who dream of becoming entrepreneurs someday kung sasali sila sa Philippine-Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Hindi sila dapat magkaroon ng inferiority complex at sabihin, siguro mga angat sa akin yung mga yan. Pare-pareho ang mga miyembro ng Canadian Chamber of Commerce. So inanyayahan namin sila katulad ng sabi ni Julian. Palakasin natin yung komunidad ng mga Pilipino mangangalakal dito sa Canada.
If the Filipino entrepreneurs can band together, how will that look like?
Sa akin, if you will ask me, gusto kong magkaroon ng magandang representation for Filipino-Canadian businesses and shape, economic policies. Kasi napaka-importante yan. That's the only way for us to be heard, to be seen, and how can we help and give back to Canada?
For me, I almost echo Julian's sentiment, but I'd like to make Filipinos become more global because that is the only way we can compete today. If you just constantly think of the Philippines as your playground, you're never going to be competitive. So you have to think globally in terms of the things that you do in your business, how you manage your costs, how you drive revenues, how you do your market strategy. And the chamber is one way, one vehicle to help Filipinos become more global. Of course, as you become global, you lose more and more of what makes you a Filipino, and you gain more and more of what makes you a global citizen. But isn't that great for every Filipino?
On that note, I'd like to thank the both of you for
Thank
guesting
you.
today.
Thank you.
We've covered a lot today, from everyday struggles small businesses face in Canada to the bigger picture of representation and inclusion in economic decision making. If there's one key takeaway, it's probably this: that representation matters. When Filipino businesses are visible, connected, and supported, our entire community moves forward. So again, a huge thank you to our guests, Julian and Joey, and to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, Philippine Canadian Chamber of Commerce, for the important work that they're doing, not just in empowering entrepreneurs, but in helping build a culture where Filipino Canadians lift each other up, collaborate, and work towards shared success. We hope this is just the beginning of more efforts that bring us together and make a real difference. So join us next time on Thrive Canada, where we continue to explore the real challenges and experiences of life here in the true North, and most importantly, how to thrive. Take care, stay inspired, and we'll see you again in the next episode.